Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something both darkly funny and surprisingly scientific. We're exploring the Darwin Awards countdown to extinction. Yeah, we're looking at the concept, some truly astonishing stories, and the deeper evolutionary ideas the book brings up. Our goal here is really to get a handle on this whole phenomenon of, let's call it, evolutionary self-selection through folly. We want to understand the rules, hear the tales, but also connect it back to Darwin's actual theories.
Quite a mix, isn't it? Because the Darwin Awards, they essentially celebrate improving the human gene pool. They do this by highlighting people who accidentally take themselves out of it, usually in ways that show, a remarkable lack of judgment.
So they win by removing themselves.
Pretty much. It ensures the next generation has, one less potential source of spectacularly bad decisions. And yeah, it's usually a posthumous award for obvious reasons.
That's the central paradox we're digging into, right? These are tales of just incredible stupidity, sometimes fatal stupidity. But the whole framework is explicitly based on Charles Darwin's idea of natural selection. It's like seeing evolution happen, just maybe not in the way we usually think about it.
Exactly. It's presented as natural selection in action. These failures, however tragic or absurd, are framed as serving a larger genetic purpose. But it's important to stress this isn't just a random collection of accidents. There are very strict rules. You really have to earn a Darwin Award through shall we say, demonstrated incompetence.
Okay, so let's get into those rules, the commandments of self-elimination maybe. Because yeah, without strict criteria, it's just bad luck stories, not evolutionary commentary.
Right. There are 5 main ones. Rule 1 is death, or more accurately, removal from the gene pool. So the person is either deceased or rendered sterile. Can't pass on those genes.
Got it. Gene pool exit. What's rule 2?
Rule 2, excellence. And they mean excellence in poor judgment.
Excellence and stupidity.
Basically, yes. The fatal act has to show this absolutely staggering lack of basic risk assessment, overlooking dangers that seem, well, almost impossible to overlook.
Okay. And rule 3?
Self-selection. This one's crucial. You have to cause your own demise. It can't be external factors alone.
Right. So getting hit by a meteor, tragic. Climbing onto your roof during a meteor shower to get a better look? Maybe that's closer.
Exactly. You have to be the agent of your own removal. No one else can nominate you. You sort of nominate yourself through your actions.
Makes sense. Rule 4.
Maturity. The candidate has to be an adult, usually defined as 16 or older, and capable of sound judgment. So children are excluded, as are people with significant cognitive impairments. The idea is they should have known better.
That one. And the last rule, veracity. I wonder if they limit things, like if it has to be verified, often by news reports, like Rule 5 says.
Rule 5 is veracity. Yeah. It has to be confirmed true, not an urban legend.
Yeah. Right. But does focusing only on the verifiable, often spectacular public failures mean we miss the quieter, everyday evolutionary weeding out?
That's a really good point. The veracity rule is necessary, I think, to give the awards credibility. Otherwise, it's just stories. But you're right. We are looking at the extreme end of the curve. The really, really public displays of fatal foolishness, not the subtle stuff.
Speaking of the rules and exceptions, the book includes at-risk survivors, right? People who almost made the list.
And those are fascinating. They're cautionary tales, basically detailed reports from the brink. They show the planning stages, the mindset leading up to a potential Darwin Award moment. Actually, the author herself, Wendy Northcutt, tells a story about nearly becoming one. She cut a hole in her floor for a fan.
Oh, yeah.
Got distracted by a phone call, completely forgot about the hole, and hours later, just walked straight into it. Broke her leg. Distraction seemed to be a big factor in a lot of these.
Wow. Okay. And connecting back to Rule 1, death, there's that darkly funny exception, the Living Darwin Award.
Ah, yes. That's for someone who survives the incident but is rendered sterile.
Yeah.
So, still removed from the gene pool, just still walking around.
Effectively the same evolutionary outcome.
Precisely. The classic example often cited is a teenager, I think 17, in Pennsylvania with an M80 explosive. You know, those powerful firecrackers?
Dangerous stuff.
He was lighting the fuse and putting it out. Repeatedly. Then, one time, it wouldn't go out. He panicked.
Oh, no.
And jammed the lit M80 between his thighs, trying to muffle it with his hand.
Yikes. I can see where this is going.
Big bang. He lost his right hand, his right leg. The book notes, if that injury also rendered him sterile, well, he earned himself a Living Darwin Award. That kind of panic-driven, terrible decision meets the excellence criteria.
Wow. Okay, let's move into some more examples that really show that excellence, that profound failure of judgment. Starting with food. And maybe bad science.
Right. This brings us to a 25-year-old chemistry student in Russia. Apparently, he had this odd habit. He liked dipping his chewing gum in citric acid crystals for a sour taste.
Okay, weird, but probably harmless enough on its own.
Usually.
Yeah.
But he did this in the lab. Labs have strict rules. No food, no drink. For exactly this reason, avoiding confusion with chemicals.
He ignored the rules.
He did. And one day, he reached for what he thought was citric acid, but it was actually a similar-looking, unidentified chemical explosive powder on the bench.
Oh, come on. He was a chemistry student.
Yep. Dunked his gum, popped it in his mouth. According to the reports, there was a loud pop. A neighbor called for help. He was found. Well, deceased. Lower part of his face gone.
He had the training to know better. But still, for a sour taste.
Common sense just went out the window. It's a grim example of knowledge not translating to wisdom.
The ultimate fetal flavor bomb indeed. Okay, moving from chemistry labs to animal encounters, these stories often seem to involve ignoring really, really obvious warnings, even from experts.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Take the story of the big cat keeper in Oklahoma. He was experienced, volunteered at an animal sanctuary, but then came what the book calls the liger incident.
A liger. That's the lion-tiger hybrid, right? Huge animals.
Exactly. Massive, powerful, and dangerous. The sanctuary manager had one very clear rule about this liger, Rocky.
Which was?
Whatever you do, don't open that gate during feeding time. Simple enough.
But this expert keeper
ignored it. Opened the gate, went into the cage during feeding time. Rocky, the liger, immediately treated him like an appetizer.
It's just baffling. When someone with specialized knowledge ignores such a basic safety rule, he basically set himself up.
He really did. He managed to get out, but died later in the hospital. It's a stark contrast, perhaps, to another story of ignoring warnings. A woman in South Africa and the Limpopo River.
Ah, the Limpopo. Famous for being dangerous, isn't it?
Extremely. Locals know you don't swim there. It's packed with crocodiles, hippos, just not safe.
But she went in anyway.
This 27-year-old woman, a former swimmer apparently, ignored all the local advice. Went swimming on New Year's Day. Not just once. Not twice, but 3 times.
She just kept going back in.
Yep. On the 3rd dip, her friends just saw her disappear beneath the surface. Vanished. Swam in the shallow end of the gene pool, as they say, and didn't heed the warnings.
Okay, let's shift gears to workplace foolishness. Gravity and construction seem to be recurring themes. It feels like taking a shortcut is often the quickest route to a Darwin Award nomination.
That's a very sharp observation. Look at the demolition worker in South Africa. He needed to bring down a concrete slab.
Standard demolition job, you'd think.
You'd think. But instead of using explosives or proper supports, he spent days chipping away at the single pillar, holding the whole thing up.
All standing under it.
While working right underneath it with his mini excavator. People in nearby offices apparently watched this happen over several days, just wondering when the inevitable would happen.
And it did.
The pillar finally gave way. The slab came down, crushed him in his machine. The report simply noted a lack of common sense.
We see that pattern again and again, like the homeowner in the UK trying to take down a brick garden shed by himself.
Right. He destabilized it, and the heavy cement roof just came straight down on him. Bricks in the head, as the award name goes.
Then there's the one titled A Screw Loose. That really highlights the excellence rule again, doesn't it?
It really does. This was a worker reinforcing a communications tower in Texas. High up, hundreds of feet, using power tools.
Risky job to begin with.
Absolutely. He leaned back in his harness and just fell. 225 feet.
What happened? Harness failure.
Worse. Investigation showed he had used his power wrench to loosen the bolts on the very structural bar his safety line was attached to.
He unbolted his own anchor point.
While attached to it. Hundreds of feet up.
Yeah.
That's moving beyond simple carelessness into profoundly, actively self-destructive negligence, overriding basic survival instincts.
Wow. You know, hearing these, it's hard not to just marvel at human fragility, which, maybe surprisingly, leads us right into the science part of the book. It connects these failures to evolution itself.
Yeah, exactly. The book pivots here. It argues we need to understand our own evolutionary baggage. Our bodies are sort of kludged together from our history. We carry around what science calls vestigial structures.
Leftover bits.
Pretty much. Body parts that used to have a function for our ancestors but are now rudimentary, often useless.
Like the appendix, though I hear there's debate about that now.
There is. It was long thought useless, but newer ideas suggest it might be a reservoir for good gut bacteria, maybe useful when sanitation was poor. But clearer examples, those tiny erector pili muscles that give you goosebumps.
Right, makes your hair stand on end.
which is useful if you have fur puffs you up for warmth or intimidation. For us relatively hairless humans, does nothing, just a leftover reflex.
Yeah.
Same with the muscles that let some people wiggle their ears. Used to help ancestors pinpoint sounds. Now, just a party trick.
And the book takes this idea down to the DNA level, right? Talking about fossils in our genes.
Yes, it talks about pseudogenes. These are basically broken, inactive copies of genes that were functional in our ancestors. They're like DNA fossils scattered through our chromosomes. The book highlights one on chromosome 8. It shows that our ancestors lost the ability to make their own vitamin C about 40 million years ago. That's why humans can get scurvy if they don't eat it.
So our genetic code itself is carrying around broken parts from the past.
Exactly. These pseudogenes, plus loads of old retroviral DNA, make up something like 8% of our entire genome. Just evolutionary junk sitting there. It kind of reframes things, doesn't it? Maybe spectacular human stupidity isn't that surprising if our fundamental blueprint is full of legacy errors and leftover code.
But it doesn't stop at junk DNA. The book then flips the script and talks about rapid evolution, suggesting we're changing fast.
This was maybe the most surprising part for me. The argument, based on anthropological research, is that human evolution has actually sped up dramatically, like 100 times faster in the last 10,000 years.
100-fold. Why?
Mostly because of civilization. Agriculture, huge population growth, new diseases, new diets, new social structures, all these create new selective pressures. Our genes have had to adapt quickly.
So we are still evolving, quite noticeably.
Oh, absolutely. The classic example is lactase persistence, the ability for adults to digest milk. That gene spread like wildfire through Europe and parts of Africa just in the last 8,000 years or so. That's incredibly fast in evolutionary terms.
Okay, that makes sense. But then there's the finding about our brains, our skulls.
Right. This one is counterintuitive. Despite all our progress, our actual skulls are getting smaller.
Smaller.
Measurably smaller. Over the last 5,000 years, the average human brain volume has shrunk by about 150 cubic centimeters. That's roughly the size of a tennis ball or a small orange. Gone.
Wow. Okay, so let's try and tie this together. We have this ongoing rapid evolution adapting to milk, maybe other things we don't even realize yet. Our skulls are physically shrinking. And at the same time, we have this constant, seemingly unchanging stream of fundamental human error, the kind documented by the Darwin Awards.
It's quite the contrast, isn't it? You could almost see the Darwin Awards as, well, as a kind of public service announcement from our genome. They act as this negative feedback loop, showing the absolute limits of bad judgment. They give us this incredibly detailed list of things not to do if you want your genes to continue. Don't play with explosives near sensitive body parts. Don't ignore crocodile warnings. Don't unbolt your own safety line.
Heed the warnings, basically. Learn from the fatal mistakes of others.
Yes, it's a catalog of cautionary tales.
Which brings us back to that shrinking skull thing, and maybe a final thought. If big brains are biologically expensive, they take a lot of energy to build and run. And if modern life, technology, computers, let us outsource a lot of mental heavy lifting. We don't need to memorize as much, maybe calculate as much.
Nature tends to be efficient if we can get by with less hardware.
Right. So could this rapid evolution, the shrinking brain trend, combine with the persistent, sometimes spectacular stupidity highlighted by the Darwin Awards, could it mean we're slowly, accidentally selecting for, well, less innate brain power, relying more on external systems?
Are we potentially evolving towards a state where smarts are less about individual processing power and more about plugging into the network? It definitely makes you wonder if we're selecting against the energetically costly big brain.
Maybe even evolving towards idiocracy. A provocative thought to leave you with. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the weird, worrying, and wonderfully scientific world of the Darwin Awards.